I was introduced to movies in general at a very young age because my mother just loved movies, and she because even she's curious now, seeing what's happened and why everybody loves Art the Clown. Like she'll ask me, she's like, "What the hell is the matter with you? Like, why are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "First of all, you named me after the Omen. She named me after the character Damien in the Omen, and I knew where my name came from, so I knew I was named after the Antichrist." And then she would let me watch Jaws with her. She would let me watch, not necessarily always horror movies, but things like Beastmaster and Conan and stuff. So I grew up watching more adult movies. And she tells me now that she didn't understand, but I had some like, she saw that I was fascinated by movies. Like I could just, most kids, they can't sit still,
Yeah.
at very like 4 years old or 3 years old. And I would just be glued to the screen and just obsessed with the imagery that I was seeing. I became an artist too. Like then I would, at a very young age, I was always sketching things I was seeing on TV and coloring and drawing pictures. And then I would still keep watching these movies. It was apparent that I just loved movies and I couldn't consume enough. I wanted to see every movie I could possibly see. And then when I was around 8 years old, I discovered this VHS tape called Scream Greats, which was
Mm.
an hour documentary on makeup effects artist Tom Savini. And it was the first time I saw what a makeup artist does and how somebody creates these monsters that I was fascinated with. And that was a big sort of light bulb moment. And I knew I needed to explore that. Like I was so obsessed with monsters, I didn't know what the next level was. Like, where do you go from here? Like watching wasn't enough. I needed to create monsters. It's like
Mm.
it's an even greater level of conquering your fears. It's like now you're creating monsters and now you're scaring other people. So
Yes, you mentioned your mom who loves horror movies, and you mentioned that she sometimes asks you, "What are you doing?" How does she feel about this? Is she proud?
she's very proud that I'm living my dream, and as she knew and I've been this weirdo horror kid my entire life. So the fact that I've created a horror character of my own now that people love, she's very proud of. But when I try and sit her down to show her this, she can't watch it anymore. It's these movies have become too much for her, where she's cursing. They are hysterical though, because for part two, I brought a rough cut over to her apartment. I set up the laptop, put her at the table, and I was like behind her on the couch filming, unbeknownst to her, filming her reactions. And she's just cursing at me, Italian mother, just cursing up a storm, yelling at me the entire movie. Like, what is wrong with you? Nobody's going to watch this. This is way too far. This is serial killer stuff. This isn't, like hysterical reactions. So I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm like, you named me after the devil and you made me watch all these movies when I was a kid. And like, but they are, I mean, it's extreme. I mean, she's 70 years old at this point. So, I mean, it's a little much for her to handle, but she is very proud. She is very proud of me.